Tonight, what I hope to talk to you or get through with my presentation, why exercise is important. As a physio, what are the goals usually that I will be working with you and trying to achieve? What's the research saying? What exercise is? What are the benefits? The types of exercise, use of heat and cold. Also, we'll touch on joint protection and energy conservation, and what is actually out there in the community for us. Why is exercise important? Well, with or without arthritis, exercise is important for general health. And because you have arthritis does not mean that you should be excluded from all of those benefits exercise should give you. On top of that, exercise can, when prescribed right, can actually help alleviate some of the signs and symptoms of arthritis. So we're trying to reduce your overall pain, and again, trying not to then give you a flare-up or make the disease more active. We're trying to keep your joints moving, and we're trying to get in that regular moderate physical activity, which is important for strengthening your bones, for your muscles, keeping your flexibility, giving you stamina, because of course with this disease, fatigue tends to be a problem, and that's to decrease the fatigue side of the arthritis. So there's our goal, to reduce the pain and stiffness, to maintain or restore your spinal mobility. And with that, that's to maintain and to improve your posture. We're also looking at trying to keep your chest expansion, which is important for breathing. So I'll touch on that. And usually when you're sitting with your physiotherapist, we should be giving you education regarding your disease, how to properly manage it, because there is no cure, so we need to manage it, and how you can manage it yourself. So the research is supporting that with your drug therapy, that to get the full benefits of your drug therapy, it does work well with exercise. It's one of the cornerstones that is recognized that we need to be having with our arthritis treatment plan. And this is a big one. And again, it's more also with the chronic, because we're dealing with chronic pain. Doing exercises in a group is always better, that I feel, than in isolation. You get more compliant because you're going to go do something fun. And just because you have arthritis doesn't mean you can't have something fun, or it can be social. So, what is exercise? Exercise, by definition, is a planned physical activity to try to improve a component of your physical fitness. When you work with a physiotherapist, we're giving what Michael touched on, is your therapeutic exercise. So it's exercise designed for you where you are presently with your arthritis. So we're dealing with, because everybody is unique with their arthritis and what joint is giving you issues, or joints that are giving you issues. We can give you exercises for those joints on how to protect them, how to keep your range, and then how to keep your mobility. And then the key goal is to keep you physically active, and then by keeping you physically active, we keep you in your functional life. So there's the benefits. So we're trying to increase your flexibility, your strength, and your stability of your spine and your posture. We're trying to get rid of that or decrease that stiffness throughout the day or first thing in the morning. We're trying to increase your fitness level and your endurance so you can get to the day what you want to get done in the day. And then we also can touch in about pacing, about how to frame your day. We're trying to increase circulation. Sometimes when you get pain, you get that muscle spasm, and the muscle spasm will then cut off your circulation. We're trying to keep that blood moving through the body. And then it's the mental health side of things. It's just your own sense of well-being, and then to keep you independent and keep you functioning. So there's different types of exercise. The fundamentals tend to be, the first one would be the range of motion. And when I talk about range of motion, we're talking about joint health. And a joint is where the two bones meet together. Arthritis, of course, when you're in pain, it limits those movements. So we're trying to maintain and restore those joint movements because we need it for healthy joints. We want to try with that to alleviate some of your morning stiffness or your stiffness. I find that it happens throughout the day, especially if I'm sitting too long at the computer. How do I get up and get moving so I get that stiffness out? And then in the end, if we don't move, this is where the adage, if we don't use it, we lose it. So we're really trying to prevent joint contractures. And by contractures, it means the joint gets more stuck in a certain position. So then we start thinking about muscle, and that's when the stretching component comes in. And we're trying to keep flexibility. With the normal, like with aging, we tend to lose flexibility. With thrown in arthritis, that also, it expedites it. So sometimes when we think of physical fitness, I find flexibility, this is where I find as a yoga teacher, comes in handy, that focus on trying to keep stretching into basically your diet of exercise. And again, flexibility is amount of elasticity that's not only in the muscle, it's also in the tendons. And of course, arthritis is just not inflammation of the joint. You can also have inflammation with muscle. And when you're coming out of a flare, it's important because you start losing some of that muscle elasticity. We want to regain that back. And then after we think of flexibility, there's strengthening. And then with the strengthening exercises, again, it's what you think of strengthening. We're trying to build up your strength, that tone back into the muscle. And again, and then cardiovascular, important. And that's to keep your endurance. It's also important for your health, for your heart health, your lungs, and also your muscle function. And this is the activity that will help you maintain a healthy weight. I'm a strong believer if you eat well and if you have healthy activity in life, you will maintain a healthy weight. And with a healthy weight, there's just less force that's on the joints itself. And then you get or improve overall function. And with the weight-bearing component of usually with your cardiovascular exercise, that's also will give you good bone health in the way of maintaining or building on your bone densities. So with arthritis, we're thinking about your more low-impact exercise. So it is your walking, bicycling, yoga. Tai Chi is great. I like Tai Chi, especially if Tai Chi really works on keeping your balance, and that reduces your risk of fall later in life. Pilates, low-impact aerobics, swimming, and water aerobics. And my newfound love is Nordic pole walking. I don't know if anybody's heard of that yet, but it's like cross-country skiing, but with poles and you're walking. I find it's really great for distribution of force through the body, and you're actually, not everything relies on the hips, knees, and ankles, that you actually get you're using your upper extremities, you're using your arms. So your arms get a bit of resistant training. Research is showing that you can be doing low-impact exercise regardless of your age, and those living with active arthritis can participate at the level that you're able to do. It also shows that it does decrease stress level because you're actually able to do something about it, and it improves your way you feel. Types of exercise. If you can get yourself in a drop of water, I have to say, water exercise with arthritis is what I personally and professionally I feel is one of the best places you can do safe exercise, because you've lost getting rid of gravity. It allows, there's less compression on those joints and on that muscle, that you can move more freely in your available range. And then the water gives you this nice natural resistance of movement that you just don't get on land. I do like the low impact, the shallow water fitness, because you don't need to know how to swim, if that's ever stopped you. And again, it's a group activity. So I'll get to where there's a few places in town that you can do that. When you're thinking cardiovascular health or fitness, the FIT principles is what usually I talk about, and that's frequency, intensity, time, and type. So when you're thinking about increasing your endurance or maintaining your endurance, we're talking about 3 to 4 times a week. And the intensity means low to moderate intensity, and that means a simple talk test. You should be able to hold on to a conversation while you're doing the activity. You should not be really slightly short of breath while not exceedingly short of breath. And you should be able to do it without, there should be some effort, but you shouldn't be having to catch your breath and stopping to be able to do the activity. We're looking at about 120 minutes or 2 hours per week, and these can be in 10-minute bouts. So I did the math roughly, is about 2 10-minute bouts a day. So, and the type is any sort of rhythmical activity using your larger muscle groups. So that's your swimming, your bicycling, walking, and for people with ankylosing spondylitis, they're finding the recumbent bike, I don't know if you're familiar with that, where you're more sit back, is better because you can maintain your posture easier, whereas the more traditional exercise bikes, you tend to fall down in a flex posture. And I'll get to why posture is so important. The benefits of strengthening, I've talked about that. But the one part I also didn't mention, though, with a stronger muscle, your muscles are your shock absorbers in your body. So when they're strong, it's kind of, if you've been in a car before without shocks, you know how you feel every bump on the road. And driving in St. John's lately, there's been more bumps on the road than ever. But keeping those muscles strong, so like having good shocks in your car, it just absorbs the amount of stress that's going through your body. And strengthening doesn't have to be, there's 2 types we do with physio when we're prescribing exercise. There's the isometric, which is basically you're not moving the joint, you're resisting movement but keeping the joint in the same position. And it's just asking that muscle to turn on, because when a joint or a muscle gets inflamed, and we usually don't give strengthening when you're actually in a flare-up, it's usually when you're coming out. It's that resistance turns the muscle on is enough, A, to keep your bone health, it builds bone density, and it keeps that muscle tissue healthy. Muscles or joints, even when they're in pain, the muscles almost kind of turn themselves off a little bit. With the isometric strengthening, we're kind of asking those muscles to come on, kick in, get working again for us. And then usually we progress on to what we call an isotonic. And that's when you're actually using resistance through the range of motion. Again, in physio, if you've ever seen a physiotherapist, you probably walked away with a TheraBand. And those we use resistance because we like giving resistant exercise through the movement of the joint. Again, that's why I like water, because water gives you that resistance training while you're in the pool. With strength training, we usually start quite slow, usually one set, 5 to 10 reps. Usually then as people get to build up their strength, we start increasing either the endurance or the weight. We only make changes at one or the other and not both at the same time. And the frequency for building muscle, the research is showing that we should be doing it about 3 to 4 times a week. If we want to be maintaining the muscle that we have, 2 to 3 times a week. And with muscle training or strength training, you got to give yourself 24, 48 hours to recover and let that muscle rebuild before you start exercising again. In the 2-hour pain rule, if muscles or joints pains more than 2 hours after you exercise, then you've just done too much. Or you have fatigue lasting into the next day. And I found I've gotten into trouble with this is when I've decided to do, say, a 30-minute walk on a day that the kids needed to be picked up, and then I did the laundry, and then I did some raking in the yard. Like I did too much physical activity in one day, rather than maybe on those days that I was really physically active with the kids, that maybe I should have done some more gentle stretching at the day and then kind of balance it out a little bit better. And I find that's a more trial and error, and you get to know your own body the best and what balance works for you. Principles of exercise, and I'll talk about heat and cold, but before exercise, some people like to heat, some people like to use a bit of cold. Warm up. Be comfortable. Wear comfortable clothes. During exercise, don't hurry. Breathe. You should be able to be breathing through your exercises. Always say the warning signs. If you ever get really, really short of breath, tightness in the chest, pain down one side, that's not arthritis. You should be contacting a doctor if you're getting some signs. Always listen to your own body, because you know your own body the best. And I always say respect pain. I think we've gotten sometimes the reputation of being physical terrorists, and I'm here to debunk that one. Exercise should not be painful. That old adage of no pain, no gain, that's totally gone out the window. And you should always give yourself time to cool down afterwards. And being mindful as you go through your exercises, you keep in check of what is actually going on with you. Is it working? Is it doing what it's supposed to be doing? Tips for trying to keep your exercise routine: pick a time and place that works for you. Don't do what hurts. It's simple. If it hurts, as my mom says, don't be at it. Slow and controlled. So it's like running and jogging, those activities might be gone. So like it's those bouncing, but maybe step might be for you. Maybe Tai Chi is for you. Finding what works for you, it's a good conversation to have with either your rheumatologist, your physio, or even your GP. Always be able to keep breathing as you're doing your exercise and relax. We sometimes get into a pain cycle, and the pain cycle is you get pain and then you get a muscle spasm. The muscle spasm then causes decreased circulation. Decreased circulation causes more muscle spasm, and the pain cycle keeps continuing. Fine breathing allows muscles to relax, so we can allow the circulation to get into those muscles, and it can help us decrease our pain. Things to avoid: low chairs, brutal. Always finding a chair at least where your hips and knees are at 90. Stairs. I hate stairs. Anyway, stairs I do try to avoid, especially if you've got knee, ankle, or hip issues. And repetitive and fast movements. You can get benefits of exercise without movements being jolting. There you go. And posture. Prevention of, I hate poor posture. We all have posture. As we age or as we get older, and then as we get with arthritis, we tend to fall down into what we call a more flexed posture. When we have the posture where the alignment is optimum, your bones and your muscles work well. They work easily. There's less effort for you. It allows the chest to expand. So the spine is positioned in a balanced alignment. That's a nice word, balanced alignment, and it minimizes the stress on joints. Less muscle fatigue, and allows the body to be more relaxed. And the best analogy I can use, the last few days we've had gorgeous weather, so I've been putting clothes out on the line. And when the clothesline is on that ring, you can easily pull it across. But as soon as that comes off, even though the clothes are still there, it takes so much effort to get that clothesline to move. Your posture is the same thing as keeping that clothesline in that ring, so everything just moves with so much more ease. So not only then, because if we start losing posture, not only are you having trouble because of the arthritis, you're now working at an area of movement that's not optimal for the body to move. So posture. So in red, Jennifer has, exactly. We tend to, especially if we're going through a flare, we fall into that flex posture, is trying to keep that more erect posture, our chest nice and open, and that nice forward-facing posture. Joint protection. Well, posture, very important. It's positioning the joint wisely, and that's what proper alignment or that balanced alignment should be. Maintaining your healthy weight. And it's true, actually, every extra pound you have on your body is 4 extra pounds of pressure on your knees. I think it's like 5 extra pounds on your hip. Always warm up and cool down so you can have that time to connect into your body and seeing what's happening with you on that day. And here I'll do a nice shout out to the occupational therapists. They're a wonderful part of the team. They really enforce how we need to pace. Like, how do we plan out our day? How we're going to fit exercise in, and what exercise should be, especially with all the other demands that we have on us with work, children, aging parents, all of those, how do we fit it in so it doesn't give stress in your life, either mentally or physically. I love the OTs because they also can help you out with your proper footwear. If you've given prescribed footwear, it should make you feel better, not worse. And it does, it sets the foundation, because when your feet are in nice alignment, everything kind of helps fall, everything else falls into place. And the OTs are great also if you need any sort of assistive devices in your home, or like if you get in trouble with socks, if you need raised toilet seats, or if you need, anyway, they're great. So I always have to say, you should always have a chat with an OT if you feel you need one. Cold and heat. Cold and heat, the purpose for using cold or heat is always to relieve pain. Using cold is when you feel you got inflammation, because the cold will help reduce that. Heat is more to help get rid of that stiffness in the muscle, or that stiffness in, if you got a muscle spasm. So cold, usually crushed ice or frozen vegetables in a bag works really well with a damp towel. Some people have 2 in their freezers, so they can alternate, so you can do it every 2 to 3 hours. So you take one out, use it, put it back. Personally, I love the Atlantic Ocean when my feet are bothering me. I like putting my feet. I find that works really well, but I don't often get to do that. So crushed ice or frozen vegetables work. And heat, that's where, you get in your shower first thing in the morning to try to get that morning stiffness out. Some people like the hot water bottle, some people like using the heating pad, usually 20 to 30 minutes, every couple hours if you need to feel like you need it. Always say, don't, like if you're using one of those deep heats, don't use a deep heat and then put a hot water bottle on you. Use one or the other. And what's out there? Presently, New World Fitness does have a joint action program for people with arthritis. The Muse Center offers some nice low-impact water aerobic classes. And the Ac Arena and the Works also has an arthritis exercise program. I also like the Works because of the indoor track, especially in the wintertime. For like $2 you can drop in, and you can get in if you have a walking program. The Arthritis Society also on their website has some great information also with exercise and arthritis. Big message today is within your body is keeping you active, or keep yourself as active as you can, because the benefits will not only be for your arthritis but also for your overall general health. Anyway, thank you.